All right, so let's implement text-to-speech to our application. And I hope you tried to implement it yourself. So therefore, we are going to need a TTS object. So a text-to-speech object, text-to-speech, like so. I'm gonna set it to null, and we need to make sure that text-to-speech exists as an import. So there we are, it's there. All right, now we can initialize text-to-speech, and I'd do that in my onCreate method. So let's just set it up here. TTS is going to be a text-to-speech object with this as the context and this as the listener, which then accordingly requires us to add the listener. So implement the interface with the listener here. So you see that our class now has the text-to-speech on init listener. And at the same time, we also added the member on init. Okay. Now, accordingly, we will need to have a method that will speak it out. And we already saw how to do it in the demo. So I'm just going to use the same approach here. Speak out will be the method, and it's going to use our text-to-speech object and speak it. And here you could, of course, use an if statement checking if TTS exists or not, and then only run it if it's not empty. Okay, so add an if statement if you want to be really sure. All right, now inside of our onInit, we are going to need to check the status, and I'm going to really just use the same code that we used in the demo, because why would we have to write everything from scratch again? So here we are going to rename the status. You could have also left it P0, but P0 is not really descriptive. So we're checking the status, and we're checking if it was successful. Then we're setting the language of US. And if something went wrong with the language data or the language not being supported, then we are going to log the error. And also if something went wrong with the status and we didn't get success, we're also going to say that there's something going wrong with the initialization for our text-to-speech. Also, we have our onDestroy method. So here we definitely should check out TTS as well and set it back. So let's set back the text-to-speech if it's not null. So we stop it and then we shut it down. Now let's go ahead and speak it out. So where would we speak it out? And I would say a good point would be when we set up our exercise view. Okay, so once we set up the exercise view here, we can just go ahead and set it up. So here we're gonna just speak out the actual lecture or the actual exercise name. So exercise list, which is a nullable, so we need to force unwrap it, and then we get it at the current position. So current exercise position dot get name, and we just pass it because this will be a string. So this get name returns a string, which we then can now use to speak it out, because our speak out will take that string and then speak it with text to speech. Now you could of course also say that you want to relax or add it on the rest setup. So set up rest view. You could also say something like rest now. You could speak out, please rest for 10 seconds or whatever, but let's just test it. Let's see if it's going to be spoken out in our application. So let's see it there, and I turned on my speaker, so you will hopefully get it from the speaker. So now it should come up. Yeah, there it was, jumping jacks. All right, so that seems to work. Perfect. All right, so that was it. I hope you managed to implement it by yourself, and now you know how to use text to speech. Oh yeah, and by the way, one minor thing, and let me get rid of this exercise here. One minor thing that we also need to set up in our manifest will be to add queries here. So queries with the intent of the action, and the action name being the TTS service. So here, Android intent.action.TTS service. Like so. And let me get rid of this here and close the action. So this TTS service, this will be necessary for Android 11, and it works very well with our Android 12 emulator, but if you really want to make sure that it's going to work well on Android 11 as well, you might have to add these queries in here. Okay, and that is pretty much it for this video.